just so grateful, Lord, for Hendersonville, Tennessee. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. Thank you, Lord, for how you blessed us here. I ask, Lord, that you will use this meeting tonight to help add clarity to what we're trying to do on behalf of our citizens. Lord, we need your guidance when it comes to all of these things. We thank you, Lord, that you are blessing us with wisdom tonight. I ask that you will give us all calm and clarity. It's in Jesus' name that I pray these things. Amen.
Amen. Hey, I will preface, the only reason I'm sitting up here is because I've got to run the meeting and I have to call on you, and if my back is to you, then I won't know that you want to speak. The other thing I would tell you too is that I will be doing kind of a cue with this pad and this pen, so if you want to speak, get your hand up and I'll get your name down and get to you as quick as can. I also will tell you, if we start going down rabbit holes, I'm going to pull us back out of the rabbit holes and get us back on track. I would also tell you that I will let the committee speak first about any issue, and then I will go to the audience, which is the rest of you. And we have Mr. Free here, who is our planning director, and Mr. Bradley here, who is our legal guide, and so I'm sure we'll be using them both frequently this evening. So, I would just like to preface another thing too, that is, please be mindful of everybody's time. Keep good attitudes. Redistricting can always get a little abrasive, I think, when you're talking about moving people and doing things. So, all right. Mr. Free, I'm going to give you the floor so you can give us 8 or 10 minutes on that packet.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I'll just kind of catch everybody up for why are we where we're at today, and just kind of give a brief overview of everything that's kind of occurred up to this point. The next slide. This is the current ward map that has 6 wards, and everybody's familiar with this, and this is what we've had for the last 10 years. And with the change in the census, we've grown by more than 10,000 in population. Therefore, we have to even out the wards, so the wards need to contract and expand. And in looking at that, that's what this whole redistricting process has kind of started with. Next slide. The Tennessee Comptroller of the Treasury, they do have a guide, a local government guide for redistricting, and I think everybody has access to that. Next slide. And the guidelines, what the guidelines kind of lay out there, it just kind of gives some general guidelines. It's not necessarily a requirement, but it's just, hey, here's maybe a best practice or a way to do this. It includes 7 steps through the whole process. Appoint a redistricting committee to draw plans. The BOMA did do that. Then acquire and collect redistricting data. We had all that information. Evaluate the current districts with the 2020 population to determine what changes, if any, must be made. And if necessary, draw 1 or more new district plans. And then complete the final district plan. And then eventually BOMA adopt the final plan by resolution, and then complete the final precinct map. And this is kind of the whole process that's involved through the redistricting process. Next slide. All the different individual steps on September the 28th, BOMA appointed the redistricting committee, and you've got the names there of the folks that were there, and I think maybe there's Pat's here. She was on the committee. And then they met 3 times. The first time they met, they gave direction to planning staff on what proposed boundaries to draw for the next meeting. They directed the planning staff to do one with 8, 6, and 5 ward maps. And so the planning staff created that within the boundaries of what the redistricting committee had. Those guidelines or directions that the redistricting committee gave the planning staff were to keep the wards compact, and the yellow area, Ward 2, that they wanted that not completely divided by the lake, and that needed to change. That was one of the directions. Then also to consider where the fire district wards are, the school boundaries, and all of those things, and geographic features. And from that, then the planning staff came up with proposals for them based on their request. And in the process of that request, in looking at that, consideration was not given and not discussed or really brought up about the location of existing aldermen's homes. So that was not in the mix, and it was not in the boundaries of what the redevelopment committee was looking at and the direction at which the planning staff did. And I just might mention, that was the first time the planning staff had created any proposed boundaries, but it was within that defined area of just technically supporting the committee. Then on the second meeting, on October the 20th, the redistricting committee made adjustments to the maps that were provided and eventually landed on they made changes to it and recommended a 6-ward map as a primary submission to BOMA, and then a secondary for a map that you can see in your packets. It was 4. The 4 came out of the 8. So we did the 8, but then when they were looking at the 8, didn't really like the way it broke everything up. But actually within that 8, just combining those within those where the 8 boundaries were, that's where the 4-ward map came in. So the 8 would fit right into the 4. So that's kind of what happened with that. And so then they finalized that, and then that's what you have before you now. And then they met a third time just to approve the minutes. And then tonight, here we are on November the 3rd with the general committee. The next slide. The first proposal from the Hendersonville Redistricting Committee was a 6-ward map. And then you might ask, so, understanding all those constraints which we were working in to create a draft for the redistricting committee and then the changes that they made, basically where this came from and even the other one came from is looking at starting at the tips of the peninsulas and working your way north and getting to where that ideal population is. And then also looking at in the green area in that ward going to the furthest point and then just working your way back, with the population until you hit that ideal population. Doing the same thing in the middle ward, Ward 6, and then in Ward 5 over there as well. And so doing that, then that kind of pushed you to a certain point, then just trying to, in the middle, figure out how those adjust around. So that's the dynamic of really how this was created. There was a lot of discussion about this still didn't fully separate or completely separate the two peninsulas. As you can see, they're still straddling right there where the park is and everything. So there was a lot of discussion about that at the redistricting committee, but this is what was landed on. Next slide. And then this is just the 4-ward map that also could be 8, but this is how that laid out. And they submitted that, but they understood. I think they understood really the 6-ward map was really something that probably had more opportunity to get approved, and I think they understood, the committee did, that the 4-ward is just a secondary thing, that might be not something that BOMA would want to do, but wanted to give you that. And then next slide would be it. And so that's it. And that's just a brief overview of where we are tonight. If you watched on the redistricting committee and you saw the interactivity of how we could do everything, I'm here and we've got JP Finnegan that I introduced earlier before the meeting. So he's here. So we have the ability with this map or any map, to pull it up, move lines, make sure that we have the right idea population and that type of thing. So we can do that interactively, and we can create multiple options and save that and that type of thing, I think, Pat.
I was just wondering if we could get a real quick demo of that real quick, of how you can move something real quick.
Yeah.
Just a small, just say this ward has this many people, going to move one block over, and boom, there you go.
Is that okay, Chairman, just to show an example?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's zoom in, right there on Ward 2. And we're just doing this, and we'll erase it when we come back. JP, if you can, let's take in this area, and that number is the population. Let's take 258, and let's just go ahead and take everything all the way over to this road, whatever that bay, something bay, Salvo Bay, or, take everything in there. And pull up that chart, too, that shows the populations on the bottom after you do that. Yeah. And so, wait, before you do that, So you can see in Ward 2, we're at a total population, the target population for 6 wards, the idea is 10,292. Now, we want to stay within 5%, I believe. So 5% of that is roughly going to be 500. So we could have 500 more than 10,292 or 500 less. I don't think we want to go much more than that with our deviation. So Ward 2, you see right now, is 10,522, and then Ward 1 is 8,920. So incorporate those areas, and then we'll watch down here, you'll see the changes. Yeah. See, now Ward 2 is 11,000, 174.
Okay.
And we also have the information, we can pull it up tonight, but we have all the demographic information. But what we did find out with the redistricting committee and looking at all the different things we were looking at demographically, we're actually very diverse as far as how the different racial mixes are throughout the city. The majority population is white, but the minority population is generally very, very well dispersed throughout the city. There's not just one area or 2 areas. There are some wards that have a higher minority population, but as far as percentage-wise, it's not statistically overwhelming. So really we're quite diverse. And then keep in mind that the over 10,000 we grew in population over the last 10 years. I don't have the figure in front of me, but I think it was 80% of that growth was all minority population. Only 20% of it was white population. So now that's something, looking at it, that's not unique to Hendersonville. That's unique across the country, and it's unique to the growth in Middle Tennessee of that growth. So that's just something, to mention as well. So you can, did that kind of show that, Alderman?
Great, thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
so
that.
that's the kind of how quick we can do it and then undo it like that. Okay? I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Keith. I know it actually took a whole lot longer, but you've explained that several times already, so, and I appreciate it. So, a couple of questions. We followed the Tennessee Comptroller's guidelines.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I read in those guidelines, and I can't pop it up right away, but I had it marked earlier today, that the deviation was 10%.
Yes.
Is that true?
That would be the maximum that you'd want to go. It's not in there like, oh, you can't go over 10%, but generally 10% would be the max. 5%, would seem to be a pretty
Ideal.
fair deviation. And when you're talking about the deviation, it's the difference between the lowest deviation in a district and the highest. So if you're like 2% lower in one, and you're negative 2%, and you're +3 in the highest one that you're plus on, then that would be a 5% deviation. Is kind of the way that they do it.
Okay. I have just a point of clarification. I actually did some reading. I hope some of the rest of you did. It was exciting reading. There's no doubt about that. So, want to hear from the committee what their feelings are. I want to thank the committee that put this together, and Mr. Free and his staff. The chairman is here. Thank you for the work that you did. Gave up 3 nights and some other time, I'm sure, to do this. We appreciate it, and now it's time for this committee to do some work before we go to Bowman. So, General Committee, Mr. Waters? Mr. Hayes?
I don't have any questions right now. I just remember a week or so ago, Mr. Waters saying.
Turn your mic on.
With the changes that we have possibly put forward, would that mean that you would need to move? And my first thought is, well, no, I don't think so. But the truth is, if I stayed with the new changes, and I wanted to stay in Ward 5, it would require that I move. So that's the reason in my prayer initially, I asked that we all be very calm and understand and know that we just need to think selflessly. It's not about anything about whether I move or anybody has to move or anything like that. None of us have to move, but we might change the ward that we're in. It might be a different number.
That's true.
So just just recognizing how important this is, and I'm glad to see that we have this many of the board members here tonight. And it's real important, and I hope, though, that we can get a lot of the details out of the way so that at our next BOMA meeting, we'll move right through it.
Okay. And I don't see us moving right through it, but I think we might be able to chop some corners off tonight where we can get through it a little bit faster. So, Mr. Bradley, I want you to talk about legalities a minute. Just whatever you feel that you need to speak to. I know a couple questions that I have had, and you and I have talked about them already. We have a couple divisions on the new map, not on the old map, where 3 of us are in one ward. We've got an election coming up next year. We've got elections after that. It would put people in we've got wards with only one person in it. What does our charter say about number of wards, number of aldermen, elections, so on and so forth?
Well, the most aldermen you can have is 8, and we've got 12, so we're grandfathered, basically, because we were a city before 1991. And as far as having multiple aldermen in one district, that's something we've just always avoided. We've never had that come up, so we've never had to make that decision. In the past, that doesn't mean we couldn't, and there are several ways it could be addressed. For example, with the map that the committee came up with, I think you would have 3 aldermen in Ward 4, 2 of whom are elected for 2 more years after 2022, and 1 of whom would be on the ballot in 2022. So you would, if you have your election like you're supposed to have in Ward 4, then in theory you'd have 3 aldermen living in Ward 4, at least for the next 2 years, which would mean you'd have a board with 13 aldermen. There's nothing in the charter about that, except there is one thing in the charter that's similar that talks about if you reduce the number of wards, so you reduce the number of aldermen that they serve to the end of their term, but they would serve as an at-large alderman. So one way you could do it, I mean, I don't know how much time we want to spend on hypotheticals, but if this is a serious plan that you anticipate doing, I would say you got 2 choices. You either elect, your position would be up, it happens to be you in this case. You would be on the ballot in 2022 for a 4-year term. And then you would have this other ward that is not on the map now. You asked me a question about it. We don't have that map up. Maybe we should have
We can get it.
Put the new 6 up.
because it's hard to talk about it with the old one because you don't have these
Yeah.
issues.
He'll put that up.
All right, so, no, that's not it.
Yeah, you got to switch it. That's it.
There you go.
Okay. There are a couple of things you could do, like in the one that's the yellow ward, what we'll call it. I can't see what those little numbers are. Well, that's arbitrary too. We can make it whatever we want to. But in the yellow ward there, you don't have, but you have 1 current alderman living in that ward, as I understand it, which is Mr. Hayes. He would be on the ballot for a 4-year term, and you would not have another current alderman. You could have an election, though, for another alderman in that ward for perhaps a 2-year term. So that would be staggered like everything else, and then when Ward 4 lost its at-large alderman, for lack of a better way to put it, the board would be back to 12, and everybody would be on schedule. We have staggered terms. Everybody would be running for a 4-year term. The charter doesn't talk about that because, like I say, the charter doesn't anticipate going from something dramatically different. I mean, it talks about reducing the number, and if you do reduce the number, that's a dramatic change. Everybody serves to the end of their term. If they're out of a ward, they don't have a ward any longer. They serve as an at-large. So that's kind of an overview. The legality of it, we're such a homogeneous city. In my opinion, you don't have a big concern with demographics. I think the demographics are similar enough throughout the city that no one can ever successfully challenge wherever we draw the lines based on demographics. There's no way that I think that with our homogeneity that we would be able to have a district that was designed to elect a minority or designed to make it impossible for a minority to be elected. I think we don't have that problem. So it gives this board the freedom to draw the lines really wherever you want to. But, of course, it's a political decision, and all of you have a ward today, and all of you have an attitude and a commitment to that or not, depending on your particular situation. So, but you could pass this plan that was passed by the Redistricting Committee, and like I say, a couple ways we could do it. We could have 13 aldermen for 2 years, 13 aldermen and a mayor. It'd be strange, but that's the only way I can think of to phase it in. Or have 2 elections in the yellow ward one for a 2-year term and one for a 4-year term. So that's the kind of, sort of the situation that we would create here. I haven't looked at all the other wards. I don't know if there'd be a similar situation in any of them or not. I don't think that there would be. I think yours is the only one. Oh, maybe not, maybe not. There's another one that's got 3 aldermen in it. Yeah, Mark and Peg and Pat are all in the same ward. So, and they've got the opposite situation. Instead of having 2 of them with 4-year terms, with 2 more years after 2022, they've got 2 that would normally be on the ballot in 2022. So they would, in essence, if you left it this way, those 2 would have to run against each other, or move, as Mr. Hayes suggested. You can always move if you really like where you were before, and of course, all of these awards are going to have.
Just a minute.
No matter what you do, you're going to have some people that you had previously. It's just a question of how much change there is. Because you still live in your house, so your neighbors around you, hopefully, we're going to still be in the same ward. So you're going to always have some of your current constituents in your ward. Now, you may be in a different ward, and you may have to wait 2 years to run or whatever, or run against another member of the board. But the question is, how dramatically do you shift the boards? And that's a political decision. That's completely up to this board.
Mr. Waters, you have a question?
Yeah, can I ask John a question?
Make sure you're in the mic.
John, do you have the committee's discussions and meetings?
No, you got to.
Do you have one, Keith?
I was at the meeting, though. What was the question?
Well, it's on page 15, and it says you, John Bradley, certified that the full ward option would lose Hendersonville's current grandfather status. I just wanted you to explain that to me.
Here's an extra copy, but it was about that 4 ward losing grandfather status.
Yeah, if you had 4 wards, you wouldn't be able to still have 12 aldermen with 3 in each ward. It would not work with staggered terms, for one thing, and for another thing, I think any change from 6 wards to 4 is going to put you back under the provisions of the previous section in our charter, which says that you can't have more than 8 aldermen and no more than 8 wards.
So we would lose the grandfather status, wouldn't we?
In my opinion, we would. It's not been decided by court because nobody's ever tried to do that. This charter. This hasn't been done before. I'm pretty sure we're the only city that ever had this charter that had 12 aldermen. I've never heard of it anywhere else. And we're by far the biggest city in Tennessee with this charter. It's not even close.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I heard a statement earlier by somebody that was coming in the room that I thought was a good statement, and I've actually did quite a bit of reading on this, and it's similar to do no harm. When you do the least amount of anything to do any harm. So, and the statement that I heard was, in redistricting, you basically do the least amount that you can to do any harm. And so that means moving people around. It doesn't necessarily mean chopping peninsulas in halves and doing things like that. So I just thought it was a good statement. It was from a senior alderman who I heard that in passing, but I thought it was worth sharing. So, all right. Who wants the floor?
I have a question. I just would like to know, I'm open-minded to the 4-ward idea, to discussing it. I'm not saying it's my preference, but I have a feeling I might be very alone in that. Most of us are here. I was just wondering if other people are interested or if we should just go ahead and eliminate that option.
All right, Rachel's asked a question.
No.
I don't either.
Who feels good about 4?
I don't want to lessen government.
That would be
Less
less
growing
representation.
population that we have.
Okay.
Yes. You go from 10,000 to 15,000, boom.
Right.
I'm already over 13.
I know that, but we're going to reduce
Is
your
there a
I hear
second
you.
you
I
down
hear
where you
you.
need to be.
I hear you.
So,
Okay, so
Rach,
we can
That
eliminate.
answer your question?
So I agree with some of the things that were said there, as well as what was said about a month ago, is that, it increases the number of people that each alderman is representing. Now, if you look at what the county commission represents, it's much more than what we represent. I get that. But part of the design of this government in 1986 was for more of that neighborhood representation. The other problem I have about that is the transition plan to include staggering becomes incredibly difficult.
I agree. I just, I definitely see pros and cons, and like I said, it's not a preference that I have, but I was open-minded to it, but I don't think there's any point. There's not gonna be support for that, so we can probably just not worry about that one.
On this?
Yeah, well, talking about staggering, are we talking about potential growth down the road in the next 10 years from one census to the next? Is that what we're talking about when we say staggering?
No, the
Make sure-
terms
No.
being 2
Oh,
years
staggering, okay.
apart.
Terms.
All right, just want to make sure we're on the same page.
It definitely would be difficult. Ms. Cunningham?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Was any thought or was any provision given to the committee about property that's already zoned for housing developments, such as mine and Mansker Farms, for the growth? And I know Ward 5 has that large development, Forest Park, coming in. Was any consideration given to that growth when they considered these maps?
Yes. Yes, that was discussed. In looking at drawing the boundaries, it's good to consider that, but actually for that to drive where the lines are really wouldn't be good. For example, in the last 10 years, we grew by more than 10,000. In the previous 10 years before that, we grew by about 10,000. And we will grow 10,000 people in the next 10 years. So the same population that we're dealing with right now on the redistricting, whoever's here in 10 years from now, they're going to deal with the same thing. But what's going to happen is all of that growth is going to happen in 3, 6, and 5 is where the growth is going to happen. But just like what's happening now, that's where most of the growth has happened. But then what's occurring is, even though there's been some growth in the peninsulas, it's the peninsulas that are now having to expand. So actually, those areas where we're going to see the most growth over the next 10 years, in 10 years from now, those areas will have to retract. And then other lower populated areas will have to expand. So there's no way to really adjust for that. But the committee did talk about that and kind of wanted to do that. But, you know, I explained to, like what I just explained, that really you can't really get ahead of that.
Okay, my second question was consideration of the sitting alderman. Whose decision was it not to communicate that to the committee, that where each alderman lived? Because in the past, that was one of the considerations because of the respect of the alderman and the people that voted for them.
Want to do that, Keith?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me. I suggested that, based on what the comptroller's guidelines were, that the committee focus on those. That the comptroller's guidelines, that booklet, that you've got a copy of it, that the committee focus on those guidelines for redistricting and compactness, contiguity were the two big ones. That I told them, I said, I told all the committee members, you can easily go out and find out where everybody lives, but that's going to open us up to being accused of being political and helping and harming some people. So I suggested at the end of the day, if anybody asked the committee members if they tried to hurt or help a politician, they can say they didn't because they didn't even know where they lived. And I said, just keep to what the comptroller recommends.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Roberts?
I think I know the answer to this, Keith, but the comptroller is very clear about that the plan should be based on census data. Can you explain why it should be based on census data?
Yes.
The census block. I'm sorry,
Yes, yes.
Census block data.
Yes.
Get your mic. Ask the question again.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're getting the evil eye from the back of the room.
Mr. Free, the comptroller, in his guidelines to local governments, emphasizes that the first building block of redistricting should be census block data. And I was just wondering, could you explain why that is important in it being the first measure that we base the census data on, or census redistricting on.
Yes, the reason that would be is that is the smallest area of demographic information where you can see what is the minority representation. You can even see how many people are of voting age. And so there's a lot of demographic, and that's the lowest level you can get down to where all of that census information is available. So if you didn't utilize that and you just said, we just want to do it here and not consider block groups, then it would be difficult, like what we've talked about how the distribution of different ethnicities were through our community. We know that because of the block group information. But if we just started drawing lines and didn't really use that, and then we really couldn't defend or explain that's not an issue. And so that's the reason. It's for the demographic information. Plus, it's the lowest level for the population as well. So you've got that, and then you know the raw population, and then you've got to get to that idea population and stay within that.
So, and this may be a question for Mr. Bradley. So, if we are challenged on this by an interested party because of one vote, one person, or any of the court requirements, by having it based upon the block information, we could really readily be able to explain why this doesn't violate any precedent, any court precedents. But if we veer away from that, what are we going to have to do? Go out and count to make sure how many minorities are represented in a particular area if we get away from the.
No, I think that if you're asking me, the reason we look at the blocks is because that's where you get your population. Baker versus Carr, the one man, one vote was not based on minority representation in the sense of ethnicity or race. It was based on the fact that in Tennessee, you had 99 or 95 counties, and each one of them had a state representative, and then there were 5 others that came from the bigger counties. And you weren't getting representation from the big cities like you were from the rural areas.
Okay.
So the votes meant a whole lot more in Cottontown than they did in Nashville. That was what was behind Baker versus Carr, as a case that came out of Tennessee. Now, that was 1961. In the 60 years since then, Baker versus Carr has been used also to look for representation to make sure that when you're drawing lines to give equal representation to each citizen, you don't draw them in such a way to exclude minorities, or to include minorities for that matter. But that goes back to a fellow named Eldridge Gerry from Massachusetts. That's where the term gerrymandering comes from. When you would draw a district that you thought would be safe for you to be reelected in. And the Tennessee General Assembly is real good at that. They draw the district lines the way they want them, and I guarantee you they look at who's living where when they draw the lines. Because the population numbers are what drives this. And as I discussed earlier, I'm not worried a whole lot about the ethnicity or the demographics because our city is so homogeneous. I don't believe with the data I've seen from Keith and what he's presented to the committee that anyone could ever make a case that we were setting up a district like that no matter where we drew the line. So I think we need to concentrate primarily on getting approximately 10,200 people in each ward within 5%. If we do that, we're not going to be subject to any kind of a challenge that would have any legitimacy to it, in my opinion. I can't say that about a lot of other cities, but ours is a little unique in that regard. And I think one last thing that Keith, at the committee meeting, he pointed out that the amazingness, really, the unusual nature of the fact that our minorities throughout the city were pretty much evenly distributed. They're not areas of real high concentrations like there are in some places. So I think we're fortunate to have that community where everything is a whole lot more diverse. And so, anyway.
I'm waiting on a hand to go up. Mr. Hayes.
Yes, sir. In an effort to do no harm to those currently elected, and in particular, because of the 2 peninsulas, if I were to change anything, I would like to change so that the wards are running more north-south. I guess if you look at the old map, the one, I know the audience probably can't see it, but if you look at the old map, if you could just take away a little bit from the blue area, what was Ward 5, because that population growth, add a little bit on that side of Ward 6, but then add to Ward 3, taking off from Ward 6, to me, it just seems like it would be much simpler, less harmful to any of the sitting aldermen if there were just slight adjustments, making Ward 5 smaller, Ward 6 slightly smaller, but maintaining the two peninsulas, for the most part, being individual wards. If you have to split them, I guess I'd rather see them split like that, thank you, Chairman, than coming down just about a mile down each peninsula. So you're still splitting them, and yet it doesn't, it's not very homogeneous, I guess is what I'm thinking. So I don't know how to do that with the map and the numbers and the blocks, but in an effort, again, because this is such a, it's an election year coming up, I hope to harm as little as possible to cause havoc with the different wards and the aldermen that are currently sitting. Thank you.
There's three thermostats in here, Miss Dixon. That one over there. She's cold.
I am too.
Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Chairman. Can we possibly make some changes to this map where we can tweak it a little bit? Can we put that map we're looking at right now, the current map, and make it interactive? Yeah, that'd be great to
JP,
start
if you
from the
can-
original
if you
what we
can
have,
pull
and
up
then we can
the,
work from there out.
If you can pull up
I
the
think it'd be a little
current
bit
ward
easier
map.
to do than just trying to hypothetically say, well, let's move that over there and this over here. Why don't we do it while we're sitting right here right now?
So we can, yeah, we can change anything on this map, and
So
I think
Pardon me,
if,
I'm gonna slide over here so I can point out this map and make it a little faster.
what's the,
well, I tell you, actually, if you want to sit back there, I can give you this tool here, and then that way you can be on the microphone.
I don't know.
How would we
Alrighty.
determine who's at
On
large?
Ward 3 right here.
wait a minute, hang on a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're going down a rabbit hole here.
Okay, up here at Ward 3.
Rachel has a question that she sees desperate.
I apologize. Go right ahead.
I'm sorry. How would we even determine if we did use this map? I do want to get into this, but if we were to use this map, how would we even determine if Alderman Dixon or Alderman Peterson were at large? Do we ask one of them to volunteer to,
If we did,
The
if we
other way.
use
The
the current
proposed map?
proposal?
The proposed 6 ward
I mean,
map.
that seems
that's a Bradley
horrible.
question.
And myself
I think
too.
the
I'd be
only
an
way that would
at-large.
make sense was that Mr. Peterson would be the at-large because he was in the ward that's no longer there. which
And
would be Ward
I'm
2.
same thing here.
I don't think there's any other way you could look at it other than that it's the one that's taken out of his ward that would be the one that'd be at large.
You would have two wards that.
John,
you
I
would
didn't
be
think
that
we could
way.
have
Pat would be
at-large.
that way if they were taking out the wards.
Well, first of all, we can have at-large
have to
as a
change our
general
charter.
proposition.
For a
Not
transition.
Right now,
For a
not this
transition,
particular charter, but I'm saying in Tennessee, it's legal like Gallatin has it and Metro has it. The problem is, we're talking about being at-large until the next election. We're talking about a transitional period. And what the charter says in the first section of the charter, which is for new cities, is talking about the process you go through if you want to reduce the number of aldermen. You might reduce the number of aldermen and somebody loses their seat, but they've been elected for 2 more years. That's the case that says they'll be at-large for those 2 years. That's in our charter, that they would serve like an at-large alderman. It would just be for the 2 years to the next election, though, where you could get everybody back on every 2 years, everybody gets elected for a 4-year term.
Yes, sir.
So it would be an oddity, but I mean, that's the only way I know that we could do. The other thing that we could do, I guess, would be,
this.
you could just not elect a second one from that middle ward and for 2 years, and that way you still just have 12, but you'd have 3 people representing 1 ward. So there's not a good way to do it when you start moving it around that way.
Okay, before you go where you want to go, okay, I would just like to say, when we're talking about transitional plan, we will have to have that if we change basically the structure we're in now. If we go to the new, what the committee has recommended, we will have to have a transitional plan. But until we get to the point that we've got boundaries and we know exactly what we're going to do, whether we're going to stay similar to what we've got, we're going to go with the new committee, or we're going to throw both of them out and start completely over again and drive planning crazy, we really don't need to talk much about a transitional plan until we have our boundaries.
Chairman.
Okay? So, Keith?
Yeah, before Pat points that, the alderman points all that out, I just wanted to mention, so this map that we're going to be adjusting, this is the existing ward map, and if you look down there in the lower left, it's got Ward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. As you can see, the total target population is 10,292. So Ward 1, that's the pink area, that area has 9,300. Ward 2 has 10,084. Ward 3, the green area, that has 8,891. Ward 4, the purple area, has 9,128. Ward 5, the blue area, has 13,437. And Ward 6 has 10,905. And so as we start making these adjustments, at any point, we can look right there, and as we move something, move a line here or there, we can see how we're getting closer or further away from that target 10,292 population.
What was the number again for Ward 1?
Ward 1 was 9,308, so we're 984 off of the target. And keep in mind, on that 5%, basically 500, so basically, if it was 10,700 or 9,600, we'd be close in that proximity.
Can I ask a question of you and maybe JP? I
Yes.
hate it because I can't see him. Hey, back
Yeah.
there. That might help in moving some of these lines around. We've got Ward 5's the biggest problem here.
What else is new?
We're over by about 3,100 folks here. We've got to
That's
get
correct.
these people.
That's
So,
correct.
Is there,
Would you like the pointer, sir?
maybe closer, that's too many numbers. Give me back to the ward again.
Yeah.
We can't hear you, Steve. He can't hear you back there.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, maybe
Here.
give him the point.
Okay,
Hand that to Steve. Hey, Steve, here you go.
is there a block of about 2,000 people that
Steve,
would easily move?
there's the indicator right here. Yep.
Okay, here's the top part of Ward 5. We've got to do something with 3,000 people here. We can't, this is given. You can't, unless we give it to Gallatin, and I don't think I want to do that. The property tax is too good there. So, obviously, some of those folks, this is the biggest new block of people, because it's built up that way. So you got 668, 102, 800, you got 1,000 roughly there. There's less there than I actually thought when I was doing the count. So, just trying to figure out where's a good block to start moving at,
And that's
if
what I
we
was-
go this way.
We'll start at 3.
Fountain Brook, Windbrook, Trace, wherever you go, of all the looking I've done, if you go, you're gonna have to move out of a ward, into ward, out of ward, into ward, out of ward, into ward. Somebody's gonna have to give up, somebody's gonna have to come in. Nobody's gonna have exactly the same as they have, but this is the biggest block. So, you understand my question?
Yes, I do. I do. It could be, you could take Ward 6, move it over and add some of that from right in that area where JP's, right in that area, and that would do it. But I think what you're going to find then is you're already right at pretty much the ideal population already in Ward 6. So everything we move, it's just going to go clockwise or counterclockwise. We just got to adjust. It can be done. It's just one thing just affects another. is what kind of happens.
Trying to get to the end of it. Okay, I'm going,
No, you can point. You just said take some of the Ward 5, put in 6. Is that what you said?
Yeah, but then you're going to have more in 6, and you're going to have to take that amount out of
But
6.
we're gonna lose some of Ward 6 to 3.
Yes, that's correct.
Start at Ward 3 and work that way,
See,
Yes,
So
yes.
it's gonna be about the same.
yes,
Yeah,
instead of backwards. Or
yeah, that's a whole
yes.
purpose.
The most impacted area is 1, 2, and 3. 3, 5, and 6 are, or is it, wait a minute, not that,
No,
1, 2,
it'd
3.
be 3.
Yeah.
two is almost on the money right now.
Yeah, 3, 5, and 6. Is that right? Yeah, 3, 5, and 6. They're generally, we can give and take on that real easy. It's the ones in the peninsula that are the real challenge.
Well, my main
I got that.
reason for asking that question is,
Uh-huh.
if we move part to Ward 3 and we take some of 5, can we just keep the 6 wards like we got them?
Yeah, I think that's, so I think what you all are doing is keeping 6 wards, you're just changing where the lines are for where they are right now.
Yeah, okay,
And to get those ideal populations.
how about that?
And really, where we're at on this, we just need a starting point, and we can start making adjustments. And then you can see how that changes.
We're gonna have to move.
Pat's chomping to
Okay.
start, so I'm gonna let him
Yeah, I
start.
mean, I'd just like to,
And once it
we
gets.
all know we're
yeah.
to make some movements. All right, Mr. Waters gonna run the show. Here we go. All right.
Once,
Gonna head to the house, huh?
once we
Thanks,
get
sir.
rolling with it, it can go very quickly. We can move on.
Yeah, can I say something? It goes back to what the mayor had asked me about a few minutes ago. I'm looking at the charter, and it says, in the case of a ward that has been abolished, provide that any alderman whose term extends past the life of his ward shall serve as an alderman at large for the remainder of the term. What I wanted you to think about, not that this is a suggestion, you know, if the board ever did want to reduce the number of aldermen, they could still have it with 6 wards. You could still have 6 wards, and if you did that midterm, you would have some people that would be serving. You know, if you did it between elections, somebody would have a year or two to serve as that large. In theory, I guess it'd be 6 people serving at large whenever you chose to do that. And historically, there was a time back in the 90s where by a 7-6 vote, the council almost passed going to 6. A lot of people don't realize that because it didn't ever happen. But anyway, that was just that's how the at-large works.
Mayor.
Real quickly, it was probably just 5-6 weeks ago that several aldermen talked about how drawing a map should be done by professionals. We had a committee that was trained. We had a committee that did an awful lot of homework. We had a committee that spent an awful lot of time. And I think we should respect that. We've had a couple of committee members here tonight. I'm frankly just astounded that some of the same people said professionals should draw these maps. Absolutely astounded to believe that now they're saying anybody should draw these maps and we should sit down and redraw some maps right now. I'm absolutely just aghast that people who said only professionals should do this without giving any credentials of why they're better at this are now working at creating some new maps.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. First thing I would like to do is take this little finger right here, from right here at New Shackle Island Road, going all the way down here and put that in Ward 3. See how the numbers change from
Yeah,
Ward 3.
let's put that in Ward 3, JP, all of that.
That area
Yeah,
right
that's
here.
correct.
I know. I'm with you, Mr. Waters. I'm with you. Hang with me. We're going to look at this real quick together. What's the number change? What did it change to this? And I can't see it back here.
It's okay. It's 10,292. It's only 3 off. So actually, it's right in the sweet spot of the idea population
Okay,
for
so that's
Ward 3.
good. We'll just leave it right
Yes.
where it's
So
at.
you're minus 3 or plus 3? Which it won't
thir-
matter, because
You're plus 3.
yeah,
Plus
okay,
3.
all right, so you're in the ballpark.
Yeah.
All right, now let's go down to Wards 1 and 2 on the Walton Ferry Peninsula, if you don't mind. Pull that all the way up there, please,
Okay.
so we can see the entire thing. Yes. Now then, down here at the bottom of this, can we take, blow it up a little bit more for me if you don't mind. That'd be great. Can we take this section right here and give that to Ward 1?
Yeah, take that purple and make it yellow.
Right here, all that right there.
Or yellow. Yeah.
There you go. Now, what that number changed to?
Ward 1 is still 609 short.
Okay, right here, take,
And
add
then-
that to it.
Ward 2 is 583 short.
We'll work on that in a minute. We gotta get, we're gonna work across, trying to get everything balanced. We have 2,500 people on the end of the city we've gotta work with.
Yeah.
Now then,
Now we're at Ward 1 is 549
short,
short.
right here.
Right there in that
Little
area.
finger, yes,
Yeah.
so this finger right here. If we need to, we can leave that finger alone and come over here and just take this section right there if we'd like.
I think we're gonna need that. We might need to get that finger, JP. Yeah, get that.
Yeah, that right there.
Yeah, there you go, like that. That's it. Okay. And then we're
And while
still
you're at it, get this one too.
we're 337 short,
Get that one right there.
327 short. Let's try to keep it along a road
I'm just
somewhere.
trying to keep you, I'm just drawing you, taking your.
Yeah, that's
blocks.
okay.
I mean,
Include
that's why I wanted to
29.
interact
There you
back
go.
Before I ever got here, so I'd been better
If we got
prepared
rid
to
of
say.
these lights, would it help everybody to see?
We're still at we're at 236 short.
Right there.
Is that good or bad?
149 short. Let's grab that 40 and right there, yeah.
Grab those two.
Helps me.
We're 64 short. Let's grab that 79. Yeah,
Right there, that's fine.
okay. And now we're 15 over, so we're right.
Right at the
We
sweet
could add,
spot.
we could probably, yeah, we could add more. We could even go up to that east-west road right there and be
Well, how about
okay.
this
if-
road
if we
right
need-
here?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's take it just, what is that road? We'll do
That
that.
is probably Hickory, that's
Okay.
Luna Lane probably. Well, I don't know,
Okay,
let's see.
let's do that and see what we got.
That's not.
Yeah,
Luna,
we're
that's
359 over, so
That's
we're
never
okay.
break probably.
Yeah, we're okay right there.
That's taken from Ward 2, giving to Ward 1.
Okay.
It doesn't affect any of the people that are elected. I mean, you keep everybody in their wards and
So-
your terms all fit and it works and everything's good.
So what you've got right now is Ward 3 is just 3 over. Ward 1 is 359 over, so both of those are within the percentages.
Okay? Now then, let's move over here to, let's move back up to the north side of Main Street. Let's look at that for a moment. And, Ward 4 needs to grow by how much? Let's see.
Ward 4 needs to grow by 1,164.
1,100 people, okay.
Mhm.
And Ward 4, I'm not sure, I have no idea, let's just,
Take that peninsula right there.
what if you cut it right here? What does that do from here this way, this whole
Yeah,
section?
it's going to grab a whole lot more because there's a weird track there, but go ahead and grab that.
Well, I'm just saying, I
Yeah.
don't know, that's
Yeah,
why
that's
I
okay.
don't know without being.
Go
able to-
ahead and grab, JP, grab all
I know,
that.
but give it to 4.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, me.
Now we're close, now Ward 4 is 383 over, so that's in the
ballpark.
spot, yeah.
We're in a good spot.
Yeah,
Now
grab
let's
that
go to 5
little,
and 6 now, if you don't mind.
yeah, grab that little right there just to clean it. There you go, okay.
Oh, I don't know, that's splitting a little neighborhood.
Jonathan, did I move you out of your ward just then?
Just by tab.
Where at? I'm sorry, I have no idea where you
yeah.
live
So
at,
you
but,
see where the peninsula, where the water is,
Right
that's
here?
Bluegrass Cove? So
Yes, sir.
If you came over just 27 people, I would still be. in-
like right here?
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, I mean, I'm trying to figure out where to draw these lines, guys. I mean, I did not know where you live at. I know you live over
But
there
I
on the
could go
lakes.
either way, I really could.
Well, all right, we're good then. If you're saying that, sir, I appreciate that. But I'm
And-
just
and
saying, we can move this a little bit. We're a little over. Did
Yeah.
you not say, Keith?
yeah, it's, yeah, we're 434 over, so we could
Well, let's back
we could
that
cut
line
back
up.
off.
This section here.
I might just mention on the one that the redistricting committee did when we presented that to them with their guidelines, we did look at neighborhoods. So we have all the overlays. We could put any overlay of anything you want over the top of this map. So one of the things that we did is we did look at the major neighborhoods and middle-sized neighborhoods and tried to keep those within wards. So I just kind of wanted to let you know about that.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Now then, let's jump across the Main Street towards 5 and 6 because 5's got to give up some people,
Let's zoom out just a little
some
bit.
additional people. And how many people are we still looking at giving up, and how many is?
Ward 2, we need to get 1,551, the yellow, Ward 2.
Okay, yellow Ward 2 needs to have 1,500.
Yeah, 1,551.
Let's see, what ward is this right here? That'd be
6. Take all the way up by the railroad track.
Is that Volunteer Drive? What is that road?
Yeah,
right there?
see the the railroad track is right up through there. See there where that's a railroad track. So that might be enough. There's not a lot of population there.
Yeah, this whole area right here.
Okay, let's stay south of the railroad track. Now you still need 1,300 more
For Ward 2, right?
for Ward 2. So you
Then
just,
just grab this section right here, this, right there.
yeah, you can grab that all the way
Not
to,
much there, unless
Yeah, I
you
know.
take-
I'm
You
thinking,
take Fairways and you take Blue
I'm thinking you're
Ridge.
fixing to reach out here and grab this is what you're fixing to do, but, I mean, here again, I didn't have an interactive map to look at when I was thinking about all this.
yeah,
so.
now 12, and it's good. We can play with this and go back and
And
forth.
if we're
It's good.
1,200 short here, let's do this then, and here again, my Ward 4 people, I'm sorry, I don't know, but could we give this little section right here to Ward 2?
There's 54 there, but,
Well, how about from here, come around through here?
and Ward 4 has 434 extra, so you could probably take that whole area right there, JP. There you go. Go further. Yeah, right there.
Vintage Circle.
Yeah. All right, now Ward 4 is 272 less.
And what about this one right here? For Ward 2. Just, I'm trying to get Ward 2
Yeah,
numbers
that's
worked
okay.
out.
Yeah, grab that area, that 414, that'll do it. Okay, now Ward 2 is just 146, so it's real close.
About right here.
It's less than 5%,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
a lot
yeah.
less than 5%. It's like 1%.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole thing is one neighborhood.
And I know we're moving it around and
yeah,
it's not,
yeah.
you know, but, nothing's perfect, so let's just,
You could
go to the north side again, back over here to Wards 5 and 6, 4, 5, and 6. Look at those for a moment. Where is Ward 5 at still? They're still the biggest one there. How many do they have to give up at the moment?
They've got 1,000 to give up. Ward 6,
1,000.
no, I'm sorry. They have 1,500 to give up.
Ward 5 does?
Yeah, Ward 5.
Okay.
6 has, they're short 1,000.
How about at the very top up here, this right here, this section, you go into Ward 6?
Yeah, I guess,
There?
yeah,
Well,
There,
right
there.
now, the boundary is Anderson Road.
Yeah.
And I think the comptroller suggests using natural boundaries or roads
Yes.
for the lines.
I'm just going by the blue lines on the map here, so I mean, they're all sections there, so that's what I'm
You can't get
basing-
from one to the other.
At 332.99, get you close.
yeah, click right there, let's just see what it is. All right, now that's 179 less on 6.
What about if this group right here goes to Ward 6?
You might,
Yes. That area right here.
you might be better to take on Saunders.
It's streets of any length.
You got 6 sitting the way it is right now, it's 10,113, you're within 179 of your
We
target.
don't need anything to see.
We're good on 6?
Yeah,
All right, cool.
You're close.
Now let's back up over here
Can hardly read.
to Ward 4. Ward 4 needs to grow,
by 817.
and
Go
we can
across the
either-
street, take Blue Ridge.
right here, I can say, go right over here and grab this section, Scottish Highland and Blue Ridge.
Take that all the
You
way
got the
to
train
stop 30,
tracks. You
take
got
it all the way to
train
stop
tracks
30
there as your
road.
natural
Yeah.
boundary to that.
There you go, that's it. Now that's 54 is, you just got 50 to go, so you're right in the spot.
And then
Yeah, you're good
grab-
there.
Grab that little
So-
section there.
So really, with everything you've got, it works out. The biggest difference is Ward 1 still could use about 350.
Well, let's back up over to Ward 1.
Well, from
Oh, Ward 3, excuse me, Ward 1 or Ward 3?
Ward 1,
Okay, all right.
From Rockland Road to,
Let's see here.
Rockland back.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, now, that's the
Rockland
original ward map, they have Rockland in that map there, so, okay. So let's see here, Ward, still need some more? Take that little swath right there.
yeah,
Just draw that line, just go straight across.
yeah. Yeah, take it over there to Jennings Drive. Yeah, right in there, just take all that.
Right there. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. You're a little over on Ward 1 now. You need to give up a little bit of Ward 1 to Ward 2.
Oh, right there. I come back over to the lakeside, I mean, you just gotta, go to the stream,
All right, that's, what is that?
Is
You're,
it- I don't
wait,
know.
no, you got to go the other way with
okay.
it. Yeah,
Right there.
you got to get more purple.
How about right here, those three?
Yeah, there you go.
Tell me when I'm getting there.
All right, a little more.
A little bit more?
Mhm.
Yeah, you can
Well,
do that.
you know what, that's, no, you're at 359, you're okay.
Yeah, you're on
You're okay.
target.
All right, so,
Now, back up and let's look at this map from a distance and see what we're talking about. I mean, everybody knows where you live at, and you can say yay or nay, and
Where's the
we're
Alexander?
using the railroads over here as the divider line for the, if you wonder what this is the railroad tracks, I believe, correct? CSX?
Are you still in 4, Jonathan?
5 and 6, yeah, they're a little under.
But that gives them growth potential for the future if they're under. Just a little bit, we're still within the margin of 5%, correct?
Yeah.
You're less than 5% on most all three of those. One of them's only 3 people off, 3 voters off.
So Pat, is the objective here to try to, as the chairman said, do no harm to existing aldermen? Is that
I'm
your
just trying to do
objective?
not the least amount of harm to the districts in general.
Yeah.
I realize that 5 had to lose a lot because they had 2,500 people, but 3 had to grow the most because they were at 8,800 people. So therefore, we have to go this way. That's the only way they're on the outer limits of our city, so they have to go this way. So
Let me
therefore, that's why we're at where we're
clarify
at.
something. I didn't mean do no harm to existing aldermen. I am, however.
I'm talking about districts.
I am, however, in favor of all the sitting aldermen staying in their particular districts now. That's me personally. When I do no harm to the districts is when we go from the way Ward 2 is now to basically the center of town, and we move up Ward 4 and take half the peninsula and make that Ward 4, I think you're doing some harm to the districts from the people I know there that I have known for years. Now, that would be up to them. We could put that on a referendum, I guess, and see, but if we pull Lee into Ward 4 and he's supporting people that didn't vote for him, that may be an okay thing on both sides, but he's also going to lose some people that did vote for him. So, and that was the biggest cut there. And I think you've solved some of that, but it's not necessarily doing any harm to the aldermen, although I do believe all the sitting aldermen should stay where they're at. But it's doing no harm to the district more than anything else.
Steve?
Lee wants to, he
Yeah,
hasn't spoke yet tonight.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Frankly, I'm somewhat confused. The comptroller's office asked us to appoint a redistricting committee, and the mayor did that, and their proposal for 6 wards, frankly, looks very good to me. In fact, I've been moved out of my district, out of my ward, but I'm fine with that. I didn't know we were going to just undermine the hard work that this committee of citizens did to sit here tonight and redraw all these wards. And if that's the case, I don't want any part of this. And I will be excusing myself because I'm going to go home and eat dinner with my wife. This map has already been drawn for us to sit here for hours, and it's a slap in the face to the committee that I think did a great job. And again, this is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We don't need to be doing something that the committee, that the residents have already done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson.
Steve?
Jamie?
Pat, what you've drawn here, do you want to make any other changes so Ward 2 isn't as split?
No, sir. We've been used
Okay,
to this
that's
for over
good.
10 years. Our
20 years.
ward has been like this for quite a long time. Even in the one that they designed had a split, and then it also had a little stub piece coming down Cherokee Drive over here on the lakeside. And I'm like, that's an interesting little stub piece sitting down there. And I did hear him say that, well, they're used to covering the both sides of the lake anyways during their meeting. I did catch that on YouTube, and they were talking about, oh, Ward 2's already used to being split on both sides of the lake, and they're used to that. So I thought, okay. So why change that if that's the case? Then let's go back to our original wards.
Another question
And
here.
give Wards 1 back part of the Old Town Center part that they're used to covering, Alderman Skidmore and Petrelli. And, you know, that's
Yeah.
my
We-
reasons for making the changes
Yeah,
I've
we
made
had-
so far.
Hold on, if I could go ahead. We had one person speak in front of the committee. Did you get a chance to see her speak?
No, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she was from Ward 2. Did you get a chance to hear what her concern was?
Oh, no, sir.
Okay. Okay, yeah, she's from Ward 2. She's the only person that spoke, and she was hoping that the redistricted maps would address the split of Ward 2.
Okay.
So
and
will you have the chance to go take a look at that?
I'll be glad to. And another reason why I like this proposal right here is it gives you representation of 2, 2, and 2, and then you have 2, 2, and 2. Alderman on the, you know, right there. If it'd be perfect, it would be Main Street. Everything would be either north or south of Main Street, and we would have it all divided up that way. But the numbers just don't really work to put you to north and south of Main Street. With Ward 5 being the biggest one and the most growth.
One other
And,
thing, if I could.
But, sir?
Yeah, I think what Alderman Peterson is dead on. We are slapping the faces of the people that we appointed to this committee. And I get it that some people want to sabotage that committee. I get that. That some people did not want that committee to succeed. But that committee did astounding and amazing work. And I concur with what Lee had to say, that we are just slapping the faces of those people that did work and volunteered for us.
Mr. Waters?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are we going to make a recommendation tonight for Boma? Are we just discussing this?
Well, you're asking me the question, so I'll give you the best answer I can.
Well, just yes or no, or are we going to make a recommendation?
We're going to make a recommendation out of this committee
Tonight.
in some way, shape, or form, or, you know, that's the reason we're here.
Oh, that's what I
Discussion.
thought. Okay. Then I want to make a motion that we recommend the Hendersonville, the 6th ward that the committee gave us. I agree with Alderman Peterson. That's to me, that's perfect. I think we're sitting here, we're talking for over an hour now, and I make a motion that we recommend this one to Boma, the one that the committee gave us. That's the proposal, 6 wards. Okay? I so move.
That dies for lack of a second. It's going to have to be me or Mr. Hayes, so the floor is still open for discussion. Ms. Collins?
Mr. Waters, did you have a
Get
further
in the mic,
comment?
please.
Mr. Waters, I didn't want to cut you off if you had further comment. I just want to say that it's no wonder that we're getting emotional, because it's emotional. This is very difficult. I don't know if you guys know where I live, but my mailing address is Gallatin. I cannot possibly be drawn out of my ward. I mean, you'd have to do somersaults to pull that off.
Give you the Gallatin.
And I'm still I don't think anything since I've been an alderman has been this difficult for me emotionally, because Jonathan and I are losing 3,100 people, and we feel a connection, as we all do, to our constituents. It's difficult to say, I'm not going to represent these people anymore. And, but it's necessary, because one vote for one person. And I do think that we need to respect the votes. And when we drastically change the districts, those people didn't have an opportunity to vote for or against us. We didn't campaign to them. We didn't knock on their doors. We're not members of their neighborhood groups. We don't know those people the way we do our own people. To me, I do think the committee, I really admired how they stayed on task. They were concise in their thoughts. I thought they did a wonderful job. Respectfully, Jamie, I feel the premise of not considering where aldermen live was not what I would have done. I do understand the reasoning behind that, but I think it's a lot to, I guess Alderman Peterson is okay with it, but I think it's a lot to ask Alderman Peterson to now be an at-large alderman and not represent the original people that he just a year ago ran his campaign to represent. I mean, I'm not saying that he would be behaving disrespectfully, but I feel that we need to respect the votes that were placed and maintain the boundaries as best as we can. And I hope that we can all kind of remain level and not take things personally. It's very difficult with this specific task. And that's all I wanted to say.
Mr. Rivers? Mike, please.
Keith, on page 70 of the comptroller's guidelines to local government, under 1F, it says no precinct shall be split. This reconfiguration that has been proposed, does it split any precincts, people in precincts?
Keith, you want me to hit that one? Yeah, that was one of the items that was specific to counties.
To counties?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay. I'd like to, while we're freelancing here, I'd like to, what you've done in Ward 6, up to the right, what have you added there? What is that right there? That's an area that Alderman Collins said to take out of her ward.
It's the golf course, it's Country Hills, and the houses around it.
Spyglass.
What's that right there?
That's Country Hills Golf Course.
Spyglass.
Because that's part of Saundersville Road, but the Fountain Brook, I mean, I gotta drive around the moon to get there.
Yeah, that's Country
Well,
Hills.
As we've been talking, I've been having some other thoughts. I mean, I'm fixing
Well, I'm
to
not
say, let's
finished.
change this, that, and the other again if somebody wants to.
I'm not,
You go
I'm
ahead,
not
sir, I
finished.
apologize.
So let's take out, Ms. Collins said she wants the golf course, so let's take that out, Keith.
Let's take out, put the golf course back in Ward 5, JP. And above that is where Forest Park, yeah, yeah,
So
Yeah, in that
take
area.
out that little appendix.
okay. And then that takes out the golf course and
now-
Forest Park.
Now, and put, now what does that do to Ward 6? Population.
The population of Ward 6,
Need
it's
to add a few.
about 700 less.
So put back in Alexandria Place.
Go back down to the south.
I'm fixing to move.
Go to 9 o'clock, way 9 o'clock.
You give some, you gotta take some.
Yeah, way 9 o'clock. Keep going. There you go.
We,
Right there.
Alexandria Place was in Ward 6, and it
Yeah.
was taken out and put in Ward 3, so.
Yeah, it's right there, where the 39, 140.
so
Yeah,
take
it's all of that, yeah.
And put that back in Ward 6, and what does that do to the population?
It's Glenbrook Village North, yeah. That puts it less 141.
So we still gotta come up with 141?
So Ward 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's close. Yeah, it's close.
Is that close enough?
Yeah. Well, go ahead and see if it'll let you do that 0.
5%.
So,
Yeah, do if it let that 0 right there to get it at the interchange. Yeah, right there. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
so let's go back up to Anderson Road that we were
Yeah,
talking about. We
yeah.
took out the golf, so,
Okay, there
what
you
is
go.
the boundary now on Ward 6?
It would be the far side of the backside of Baird Farm that's behind, kind of behind Fountain Brook and behind Norman Farms. Well, the blue area where it says 99, that's going to be Forest Park. And then that area, if you can go just a little bit to your left right there, that area right there is Baird Farms. There's a couple of pieces of property that we've annexed since 2019 that weren't included in the census that we'll have to. And so that area right there behind Fountain Brook, yeah, right there, that actually, we've annexed that in, so that needs to go somewhere. So with 5 or 6, depending. Yeah, there's nobody there except one homeowner right now.
So,
It's interesting.
so,
Yeah, that's it right
the
there.
Fountain Brook, how many, what's the population in that block group?
Currently 332.
My thinking is that they, they access their homes from Anderson Road, whereas the people at Country Hills, they're on Spyglass, they access from Saundersville Road. So they feel a part of Saundersville Road, whereas Fountain Brook feels more connected to Durham Farms. In fact, when I knocked on doors, some people were ready to fight me. They just knew that you were their alderman because you were their neighbor.
Yeah, and one thing,
I mean,
Well, bless their hearts.
I know, they really did. They told me, they said, "Oh, you're in the wrong place, honey."
one thing to keep in mind is that we will have an east-west collector that'll go from Saundersville Road all the way over to Anderson and then through Durham Farms. So all of that
When?
probably will occur in the next 2 to 3 years. That probably will be
But
built.
we're not supposed to consider growth.
Yeah, no, it just,
It's okay to consider. It's not illegal to consider growth.
Right.
yeah, there
If you
could,
know where the growth's
Yeah.
coming, it only makes sense to consider it.
any large annexations, not that I'm aware of. Yeah.
Have somebody-
Yeah,
Those
there's,
are both big-
yeah, there's nothing I'm aware of that's pending, yeah.
Folks, we've got
those
4
are both
people talking.
big
Got 4
neighborhoods
people
that'll
talking.
grow, and they split them.
Okay.
And I can't hear any of them.
I'll say this. I too think that, and I think procedurally, we'll have a motion to accept the committee's recommendation, and we'll probably have a counter motion. So we'll probably have a bunch of motions, Mayor, that night. I do appreciate what the Citizens Committee did. I think it looks more compact. I think it looks less like we're gerrymandering. A lot of our discussion tonight, I think, is self-serving, but, there's no interest like self-interest. I understand that concept too. But I like what the committee recommended, but I always knew there would be a competing motion. So, with that said, that's all I have.
Pardon me, Mr. Chairman, one more question. When we moved those numbers just then from back to Ward 6 from 3, how did it alter Ward 3? Is it within the margins it needs to be in, or is it outside those
Yeah.
margins?
Ward 3 is 555 below, and Ward 6 is 141 below. Ward 5 is 403 above.
So they're still within acceptable ranges, is that correct?
Yeah, Ward 3 is a little bit high. Just a little.
Ward 3 is a little, need to give up something else?
You mean a little low?
A little low, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Ward 3 is just a little low. It needs to be added from somewhere just a little bit. That'd be good.
Can we blow up right here in this section right here?
This is the 5% range.
Is that it? Okay.
777 to 10,807. That's
Okay.
the 5%.
Okay.
How about this section right here to
That's
Ward,
Alexandria Place.
move that right there to Ward 3?
Okay. Let's keep
Using
it all
this
on that
as a
road, yeah.
boundary, well, I'm just trying to keep it straight lines like they were talking
He's a
about.
professional, he knows what he's doing.
Now it's, now Ward 3 is 409 less, or short. And Ward, yeah, no, he can't enlarge the numbers. No.
Check while.
Right here and here. About that one, there you go.
Okay, now you're just 200 short
Is
on
that a
3.
neighborhood
So that would put you within the
So you're
margins
within
that
the
you need to be,
margin,
correct?
yeah.
Where that is.
Ward-
Yes, it is. But you're already there.
Close to Savely
Ward
also.
6 is 977, yeah,
Now
it's
below
close.
that map, reduce the map so we can see what area we're talking about.
Yeah.
So this area right here is New Shackle Island Road, correct?
Yeah,
And
yes.
this is to the east of New Shackle Island, this is Old Shackle Island.
Can you zoom in on that, JP? Thank you. Yeah,
I'm just trying to let everybody understand where we're at. That's the train, let's see, the train tracks would be right there, I guess.
that's correct.
Volunteer Drive is right here. And then, going down here, this is, I would believe, is Wessington.
Wessington, that's correct.
Yeah, one of the things that the committee asked the staff to make sure that they were aware of is where neighborhoods are. Is that a concern here, that you don't want to split a neighborhood? Is that a concern of yours? Alderman Campbell, are you concerned about splitting up neighborhoods?
When you say that, are you talking about like an HOA type of neighborhood or just a regular neighborhood? Because they come through my neighborhood, my neighborhood was split at one time. We're looking at the neighborhood that over there, it's not like Candlewood, but it's, I forget the name, Summer or something or another. It's a 40-year-old neighborhood. I mean, I can't tell you the exact name of it, but I mean.
Well, you've just split Colonial Acres. And the map that we had before went down New Shackle and Old Shackle.
Okay.
Didn't split a neighborhood. If you have a neighborhood that's split, now's the opportunity to fix that.
Yeah, I know that.
I certainly
That's fine.
hope,
Thank you for pointing
certainly
it out.
hope that you wouldn't split another neighborhood.
Well, I'd hope not, but I mean, that's why this is my first time.
We're going
to see
right
this
down
interactive.
Savely Drive, where part of Colonial Acres.
But
It's,
you
okay, I see it now. Yeah, I see it
Ward
now.
6 down below by doing that.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Do
We're
we
getting
need
there.
to put a neighborhood over that? I mean, we can.
Yeah, the committee wanted to make sure they didn't,
JP,
Yeah,
is
the
it
committee wanted to make
possible
sure they
put
didn't
that
split
on
any
overlay
neighborhoods.
over that? Yeah.
I can overlay it.
I think in any
It's just going to look a
situation,
little
you split
hectic
some
at
neighborhoods,
first,
you just-
so I
you know,
Yeah, I mean, you
apologize.
have
They'd be
to, I
40
mean-
years old, but you're still gonna split some of them up. It's just
Yeah,
gonna be hard
JP
not.
can put that over there just real quickly, so you
I
can
mean,
kind
I
of see it.
can't.
just-
I'm having to look at population numbers and draw lines and trying to keep the lines straight and as concise as we possibly can without,
We are within the target on
Yeah,
all
you're
of them.
trained for
though.
that one.
Yeah,
It
they
needs
are,
to be
Mr.
on
Chairman.
that side of
They
New
are.
Shackle. It doesn't need to be on the other side of New Shackle.
It's going to get busy here for a
are
second.
those numbers, within the range on all the wards?
Yes, they are.
Hurt your eyes right there.
When we say that, yes, they are. If Ward 3 was to give up,
They could give up, well, actually, they need to, well, they could give up 100 or so,
so what's that number right there?
111.
So if they gave up that little box right there, 111, that would help out Ward 6, correct?
Let's see.
Because here again, 6 and 5 have the most potential for growth, and 3, Massacre Farms. Massacre Farms has been in design for over 20 years, and
We went before planning last night.
and here again, they're still in phases. They're still building at Massacre Farms. Massacre Farms is over 20-year-old community, and it's in another phase, probably phase 8 or 9 by now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, these little gray areas, those are
Yes, sir.
areas that are neighborhoods.
All right, sir.
Okay.
Well, I've tried to sit down and look at this map right now and come up with some ideas. Since I didn't have an opportunity to look at the interactive map before we got here. And I appreciate the opportunity to look at that map this evening. And there you go, guys. If we need to change something, we can tweak it a little bit more, but, you know.
Is 6 okay now?
Yeah, 6
doesn't
is,
have population.
Everybody is within the
it's within
range.
the, it's
Use
within the
plus or
margin.
minus range.
Ms. Cunningham,
I,
get in the mic, please.
Turn your mic on.
Ward 3 has always been on the other side of New Shackle. If we could move that back to Ward 6.
Almost impossible.
Why?
Are you talking about right here?
Yeah, that whole
All of it,
area,
all that green area that's
that whole area.
to the
From,
east of New Shackle.
from Main Street up to,
All of that?
yes.
Okay,
yes,
let's just see
yes,
what that'll
sir.
do, JP. That will, Ward 6 is okay. That was Ward 3. Yeah, Ward 3, it's still within, right at it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would just leave it the way it is.
What is that? Ward 3 is 9713.
Arlene, did they take
Yeah, it's not
Rockland Road
bad.
back over to 1?
One has got it.
I don't know,
Yes.
does, yeah, I believe
Yes.
so, I believe so.
Main Street is the top boundary. Yeah, you got everything
I mean,
south
that's-
on Main Street.
That actually
That,
borders
that
the
just
ward.
makes sense that that would be part of the
I
same
mean, there's
ward.
not very many people there.
No, there's hardly anybody that lives
It's
there.
all turned commercial pretty much.
Yeah, it's all commercial, most of commercial.
And it shouldn't.
No, should not.
New Shackle was always the boundary.
Yes.
We're gonna have some growth in Massacre Farms, so that's gonna increase the population.
Okay, folks, it seems like we're kind of running down here.
But thank you.
We discussed this pretty hard. Here's what I think needs to happen. I guess I'm the chairman of the committee, so I get to say what I think needs to happen. We had a motion a while ago on the committee's recommendation. It wasn't seconded. So I think we need another motion. Or we don't have to make a motion.
Hungry.
I'll make a motion that we move it to BOMA, the committee's recommendation, with no recommendation from this committee. Most everybody from BOMA's here tonight, so we're watching. And here's another thing I would ask. Since we have all worked on this and give our opinion, can you please have this map available to us in our packets to bring to BOMA alongside the other committee recommendation Tuesday night?
Yes, Chairman, we can get that, and then JP will put all the demographic stuff with it in the population, and let's save that as as option, an option number.
Okay.
But let's save it as a general committee option. Okay.
I just have one question. With this, what we worked on tonight and put together tonight, are there any aldermen that are outside, would change wards?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that.
Other than
You.
just me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's good.
We have that layer.
I apologize, Jonathan.
Other than who?
Get this map in his same ward.
What was the answer to that question? Who answered it?
I think I'm the only one, and so we're not gonna recommend anything, we're just gonna send this on to BOMA, and.
Need to make a motion.
Okay, well then I'll make the motion that we send all of our work that we put together tonight to BOMA.
Did you get a second on your motion, Chief, Chairman?
I haven't made one.
I thought you made one.
Said I needed one. So, I will second that,
Okay.
and we will vote on sending this to BOMA. You'll have this in our packet
Yes, sir.
with a recommendation.
Can we discuss it just a moment too?
We can.
Related to just some of the comments that were made tonight. The biggest thing is that we didn't want to do any harm to any district, and I did knock on every door in Ward 5. And so I appreciate what Alderman Collins is saying there. And the reason I ask that question is, if I'm the only one that would be required to either move to stay in Ward 5 or to run in a new ward, I'm willing to move forward with this, since I'm the only one out of the 13 that is in a position where I would either need to move or run in a different ward in the upcoming election. So,
And I don't know for sure that that's the case. We
Yeah.
do have the layer of where everybody's at, but I'm not for sure if you're the only one.
okay.
I don't
okay.
know, and I'm not for sure.
Okay, so the last thing I would want to say is, I sure would like it if we had access to this even between now and the BOMA meeting. Because there may be some, this is the first time we've gotten to do this, and I just really, I think this is, the interactive map is a wonderful thing. It's so helpful when you're starting to look at the populations and trying to even it out and understand natural boundaries like railroad tracks, lakes, et cetera.
Streams.
Thank you.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes, if we took, go across Main Street at the, where wards 5 and 4 touch up there in the corner, yes, blow that up right there. If we were to give that, take that area right there, turn that into ward, what is that ward in the purple, is that, 4, turn that into 4, right there. How does that impact 4's numbers?
Yeah.
And then we're gonna come down here and move 5 back this way a little bit,
Let's pull up those,
on the other
things.
side of the lake, so we can put Jonathan back in his ward if at all possible. Sorry, I didn't know this. And I have no idea which block would be your block. Would that be the first one, attached to the blue by the lake there?
It's right here.
Right there?
Right where it says 37.
That's strange how it goes, wraps around like it does. That's sort of weird looking.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some odd shaped census
That's
blocks.
strange looking. Those other blocks that are like islands sitting there, they would need to be added to Ward.
Yeah, I would rather leave it like it is. I think it actually makes sense. In fact,
Okay.
the best one of all is
Well,
the
Mr.
4
Haynes, you're-
wards, but we're not going there, I know. But I'm just saying to keep it clean and neat, I think it's fine. We don't have to, I mean, Bum will vote on it later, though.
Then put it back the way it was, please.
Yes, sir, thank
Yeah,
you.
just undo.
I was just want to see what it would do. What the
Thank
impact
you,
would be.
Pat, I appreciate it.
I do, the neighborhood that's like, I can't see well
Scottish
enough
Highlands?
to tell. No, across the street from Scottish Highlands, and it looks like a little rectangle almost with a line down the middle.
Right.
Down on the other side of Main Street, on the
Yeah,
south
let's go
of Main
south.
Street.
Right here?
Yes,
That?
that's one neighborhood.
Let's zoom into that.
It's very,
Yeah.
I know it looks
Bluegrass
neat like
Commons,
that,
Bluegrass
but
Commons got
Bluegrass Commons.
split slightly.
that shouldn't really be split.
No.
Let's grab that and just see what it does.
Yeah, I don't think it's very many,
Well, but we need
Turn it
to,
purple,
we got to
turn it
grab the
blue.
outside of it too.
I can't see the
Yeah.
numbers up there to know.
Okay, there you go.
We'll have to grab this too.
You do?
Yeah, because it's the outside, the houses will be, yeah, I seen it, it gets a little weird.
Oh, because it's
weird
the
the way
other
it
side
wraps
of the
around.
street?
Now you're out of the range on
That's what you're
4th.
saying?
Yeah, see, because your houses will be
Yeah,
facing the
well,
street.
Can you put that other little side back in 5? Yeah.
Yeah, let's undo that and take
Side
this
of it.
part and put it over here. There you go,
Turn the
yeah.
inside of the little
Let's-
stub, go inward instead of
But then we're
outward.
gonna have to put all of that back over here, because the houses will face it up.
It's really a community
Yeah.
more than,
It's gonna have to be all of these too, JP, right here. Yes, sir, that's it.
oh,
You're back to Jonathan, so it's that strange,
I guess we'll just need to split it.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll just
it's-
go
it's
back to
just
what it was.
30.
It's just a handful of
Yeah.
people. I just don't like that for them, but
Okay,
Have 2 alternates instead of 1. Or
let's
have 4 alternates.
put this in the, put this in 4, that back like it was.
Give it up anything.
Yeah, there you go,
it's just such a small
just do that.
neighborhood and they're
Thank you, that's good.
very neighborly.
Okay, folks, I think we've beat it about as hard as we can beat it. We've got a motion on the floor to move this to Boma and to move the committees to Boma with no recommendation.
Mr. Waters, have the line.
Did he bail?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, you understand what we're asking you to do? Give us a second set of maps, which is basically this one right here, okay? And,
At the next Boma meeting, I guess we will have the ability to do what we were doing tonight. So JP
you're not on.
At next Tuesday's Boma meeting, JP can attend, and we can have the ability to do what we did tonight, if that's necessary.
I would say you better bring it.
Yeah. And we are on, as far as timeline, this would put the second reading, I guess, December the 14th, at that December Boma meeting, and I'm thinking this has to be done
Yeah, we'll be okay with that.
before the end of the year,
Yeah, we'll be okay with
so,
that.
That's in time. That's within the frame.
okay.
As long as we don't defer anything.
Say again?
If we defer something, then we're gonna need to have to schedule a public, special meeting.
Yeah. Special meeting.
And
Okay.
finding time for a special meeting is gonna be very difficult in December.
You
Tell
good?
me.
I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, hold on a second, Chairman.
Ma'am, sir?
Yeah. If anybody wants a copy of this, we will make that and put that in your, we'll put that in your cubby of this one right here.
Okay.
All that other information, though, the data, that'll go in your packets, for Boma, but we'll
Can
get
make
you.
it this big? and
Yeah,
put it in there?
we'll do a map for that, and then just put it in everybody's mailbox, and we can do that. That's okay.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
All right, we adjourn. Thank you all for being here.